computer. Okay. All right. So happy Saturday to you all. Linda, I'm going to go ahead and make you a co-host. And then that way you can help me bring people in, please. Linda, where are you, Linda? Linda, okay. More, make co-host. Okay, perfect. Make co-host, yes. Okay. So we are going to be going over element number 5, optimizing your surroundings. I think that, you know, many times we focus on, when we talk about getting healthy, we just think it's about weight loss management, right? We need to lose the weight and that's it. But so many things come into play. I recently did a health assessment with this guy, and it was so funny because he's not a coach, but he talks like a coach. And he said, you know what, Priscilla? He's like, I always look at our lives like a pie. He's like, it's like a pie, right? And there's a piece in all the pie. It's healthy body, healthy mind, healthy finances, healthy surroundings, healthy environment, everything to create a whole being. And I thought that's so powerful, right? Because sometimes we just focus on what we put in our bodies and also in our minds, but creating and optimizing our surroundings is going to be vital for our journey. And so in this element, we're going to look at our surroundings. We're going to look at how these relationships we have with people can either enhance our journey, or if they're accomplices to not helping us, help us and teach us how to walk away from these relationships, even if it's just for a little while until we really install our habits. We're going to discover how to create microenvironments of healthy relationships, and then Dr. is going to provide tools and resources that are going to help us improve these relationships. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. Who went over this element this week? Dennis, Sandra. That's awesome. Anybody else? Melinda. Okay. Love it. All right. So what was everybody's, can somebody share with me their biggest takeaway so far in this element? What was your biggest takeaway? Melinda?
Okay, I'm off mute. So my biggest takeaway is that our relationships are attached to everything. So everything that we do has a lot to do with our relationships, whether it's with someone else, whether it's with food, whether it's with, our day-to-day. And so we need to look within ourselves and, what we want out of relationships to do better. So if we want better, we got to do better.
Yes, I love that. What does this element mean to you right now? Let's see, Sandra, if we're talking about optimizing our journey, what does it mean to you right now to optimize your journey? I mean, yeah, healthy surroundings. How does it optimize your journey?
Because it is what's around you. And so those people that aren't serving you, even if it's family members that are sabotaging you, then you just need to know how to work on that, and don't make excuses for yourself. You're trying to live a healthy life, but they are going to try and come in and give you the cake or the desserts or the yummies.
They mean well, right? Sometimes they totally mean well. And I've heard this a lot in this journey where pastors, missionaries will tell me, I went to a certain sister's house, and I just couldn't say no. I didn't want to offend them. I wanted to make sure that they felt that I appreciated what I was doing with them, right? And sometimes we can fall into that, and especially like people in the ministry, they fall into that trap because they're just like, well, I have to feel like I'm being nice to them. But sometimes, and I love Dr. A is going to give us tools on how to actually overcome those situations. But he talks earlier today on page 128. If we go to page 128 and 129, Dr. A focuses on 2 systems in our bodies, on our minds, the go system and the no system, right? The go system is the system when you're hot or go. When something boils your blood, something happens and your blood begins to boil. That kind of happened to me right now. I'm not going to lie. Okay. Trying to get into the first Zoom room, and my blood was like, and I noticed, I'm like, okay, Priscilla, concentrate on your breathing. This is the perfect opportunity to choose the stop, challenge, choose, because I'm like dying over here trying to get into the Zoom. I know it's 9 o'clock and I know I want to respect your time, right? That's the go system. The no system is going to allow me to utilize a certain part in my brain where I'm actually being rational, where I'm using my mind and not my emotions to make a decision. And so Dr. A breaks that down when you're in the no system, you're more aware of your current behavior, right? And that's the goal. The goal whenever you want to install habits of health, the first thing that's going to have to happen is you have to create self-awareness. What does self-awareness mean? Dr. A says in page 129, it means knowing yourself, your emotions, and what triggers them, and how you normally react to specific people and places and situations. Okay, so this is what's important, creating the self-awareness. When you do that and you install the habits of health in your life, you become the dominant force in your own life, my friends. And so healthy surroundings, people, you're always going to be around people, but what's super important is how to regulate emotions when they trigger us certain ways, and when situations trigger us certain ways. Right now I was so triggered and I was like, ugh, no, I'm going to practice what I just learned right now. So can somebody give us an emotion? Can somebody give us an example of a situation that maybe happened this week to you, where your emotions were on a high and you ran with it? And maybe somebody can talk to us of an example that, you actually used the know something. Maybe something happened, it triggered you, but you were able to utilize the stop, challenge, choose method. Anybody want to share either one of these?
I can share.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Jamie Murphy is my coach, Natalia Sokol. I am an elementary school teacher, and I just had my last day on the 9th. And there was an interesting situation that came up. Teachers are pretty stressed at the end of the school year, and we are working on student lists, and I teach English as a second language. So I have to create groups so EL kids are clustered in the classroom. And one child was placed in a totally different classroom, which is not good for that child, away from all of your friends, and I won't be able to provide services in that room next year. So there was emailing back and forth, like 20 emails, not at me, but in general. What's the research behind clustering kids and this and that? And like, instead of focusing on their students and it's last day, fun, everybody is so bright and cheerful, they were angry. And I'm like, okay, so I sent one email. I don't mind. Sorry, I brought it up. It's okay. Let's create two groups. But I had to breathe, and I had to tell myself, we've had a great year. We've had great relationships. It's not directed at me. It's totally just the stress of the year. Difficult classrooms, yes, behaviors. People are like stressed out, report cards, last day. And so I sent my last positive email to everyone. Like I said, go ahead and do it your way. And I didn't mean to cause this, and apologized. And just refocused myself. Instead of being upset about it, scared or angry, how is next year gonna go? I'm like, I'm gonna have a great summer, neutralize it in my heart, and stay positive and connect to Jamie, because Jamie supports me in a positive way and I support her. And it's like, my advice is connect to your coach who is already there, who's already studied, overcome a lot of things, and has been practicing a lot of things and has the tools, and just follow her steps up, away from all that stress and
Wow.
negativity. In some gratitude.
Powerful. Thank you for sharing that. So she utilized the stop, challenge, choose method. Notice how she switched the story in her mindset, right? She could have totally had a different experience had she not used the tools to switch her mindset and actually see things in somebody else's vantage point. That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Who had a not so positive experience like that this week, where maybe a spouse triggered you, a coworker triggered you? I know it makes us look bad. And if you guys don't want to share, I will totally share mine. Okay, I have a ton of those. But who has something like that?
Well, it happened to me last night.
Okay, what happened to you, Dennis?
How about 3 o'clock? My wife, by the way, she stays up all night and sleeps during the day. So I'm sleeping and she wakes me. There's no sound on the TV, which seems we have this chronic problem with our Samsung not talking to our Denon Power app, and I didn't get upset. Well, oh, excuse me. Yes, I did get upset, but yes, I did not use the stop, challenge, choose. So there it is. I was upset. Don't
That
wake
is
me
so
up for
good,
that.
Dennis. That is so good. It's so funny. The spouse is always like the first one at the top of the list, right? When they ask about who it is. And it was so funny because earlier, I'll tell you guys a funny story. I was reading this and going through it earlier, and I told my husband, I'm like, you know, it says we need to listen to people, like their vantage point. Like we need to listen before we talk. He goes, yeah, I always do that. You're the one that doesn't. And I was like, woo. I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm like, you need to read the book too, okay? I'm not gonna say anything. But this totally happens. I think the number one person that triggers us is our spouses. As much as we love them, they're also the number one people that trigger us. So thank you so much, Dennis, for sharing that. So if we go to page 134, Dr. A dives into managing our experiences, right? Every relationship that we have with every individual is an experience. So regulating our behavior is easier when we become super aware of our emotions, and then they allow us to start managing and responding better, right? That's what's important about what we do. It's like we can't control what the other person's going to do. I can't control what somebody else is going to do. I can only control what I can do and how I regulate to the situation. And I love my coach once shared a formula with us. E plus R equals O. Write this down in your books if you have it with you, okay? E plus R equals O.
And
The event
the reason-
plus your reaction is going to equal the outcome. You cannot control the event at all. That's something you can't control. But you can control your reaction to the event. And based on that reaction, you are going to get a positive outcome or a negative outcome. That's going to be up to you, right? But this all is going to come down to you actually creating that awareness. Like using our no system versus our go system is what's going to help us to really start, I guess, enhancing these relationships if you may, because there's people you can't, there's people who are going to be accomplices, people are going to support you, but sometimes it's even your grandmother, for instance, right? There's a part I read about grandmas. My grandma loves to feed us. I don't know about you guys, but I have a grandmother that she says my husband is skinny and I starve him. She says that all the time when she sees him. She goes, look, he looks pale. He looks like he has anemia. He looks like his pants are falling off. I'm like, Grandma, he chooses to be healthy. No, you're not feeding him. Right? I mean, it is what it is. Grandmothers are grandmothers, and they have that mentality that they show their love, they nurture love through food. And so this is why it's super important that we know how to actually talk to individuals like this, and we're going to get into that. But tips to help you stay above the line when situations happen like this. Can somebody read page 135? After the stop, challenge, choose, Dr. A gives us some tips on how to basically assess a situation. Like when you're going through something and maybe you don't remember the stop, challenge, choose method at the moment, what are some other things that you can actually utilize, other tools that you can utilize? Can somebody read that? Page 135. Let's go, Melinda.
Immediately sense your breathing. Feel the hot energy cool down before you speak or act, better known as wusa, right? Open your water bottle slowly and take a drink before speaking. Think of how your response can improve your health before choosing. Count to 10 before responding. Sleep on it before responding. Get a better night's sleep. Smile and be appreciative. Be open, curious, and desire growth when challenged. And something I do a lot, or I've done in the past, just simply walk away. Not in a rude, disrespectful way, but sometimes I just need to step away from the moment, gather my thoughts, and then come back and collect myself, and then go back to the situation.
100%. That is so powerful. What are other things you guys might do to help you, just kind of regulate the situation? What are other things you might do?
Exercise helps me a lot. When I exercise, I get a lot of the anger or whatever it is out, or just a quick walk, and while you breathing really fast, that helps a lot. But stop, challenge, choose, always, just that extra time to make a better decision.
Yeah, that's so good. Also, for me personally, playing worship music really helps me, and it's really funny, but we always teach our daughter, like, what would Jesus do with her siblings? So when she hears me argue with my husband, she'll come, she's like, Mom, what would Jesus do? I'm like, oh man, she put me in my place right now, but like, just kind of like putting yourself in situations where you can really be at peace, right? Those breathing exercises. Maybe for me personally, it's music, walking away, Melinda. That's so powerful. I always do that. I tell my husband, you know what? I don't want to say something mean that I'm going to regret later on. So just give me 5-10 minutes and then I'll come back and we can talk. You know, because I used to be the person in my other relationships where I was like, I would tell you exactly what I thought about you. And it was not nice. I can have a very lethal tongue, believe it or not. Okay. But I've learned to control that because I'm like, I know it doesn't serve the relationship in any way. So getting in the habit of learning that, like putting that in your tools is going to be super powerful. So if we continue on to page 137, Dr. A talks about your social consciousness, right? We typically talk. Human tendency is to talk, not to listen, but to prove your point, to win, and to show that you're the right person. Let's be real. That's a lot of us, right? We want to prove a point. We want to be right. And then we also want to share things. And sometimes, you know, I don't know if it happens to you guys, but when my husband's talking, I'm like, oh yeah. And I write in my notes what I want to say back to him to that specific thing because I'm not even listening to him. But I will tell you that it is so powerful when we actually listen to them and their perspective, somebody else's vantage point, whether this person is somebody that supports you or is an accomplice to your journey, they show you actually care about their vantage point. And this is a very hard one because it hurts our ego. You know what I'm saying? It hurts our ego when I was like, my husband's like, dude, why are you always like, sometimes like you're so stressed and you like take, I'm like, I just want to, you're always the one winning. I'm like, so I need to win too. You know, and it's true. Like it happens to all of us. So that's, if we can get really good at that, that'll be powerful to actually listen, to actually sit down and listen to the other person, not to prove your point, but to actually listen to their vantage point. So if we go to 138, isn't it powerful what Dr. A says? When you are communicating with somebody, your actual words that are being communicated, you only listen to 7% of that. 38% is your tone of voice and 55% is your body language. So when you're talking to somebody, think about that. The actual words are not really being heard. You're accepting only the tone of voice and you're accepting the body language if you're not taking the time to actually listen to the individual. It's so funny. I couldn't stop laughing when I was reading all this because I'm like, this is so me, you know? So I want to know if anybody can give me an example okay, yes. I want to know if anybody can give me an example where they actually have accomplished this habit, where you actually sit down and listen to someone to actually listen and not to prove your point, to listen to somebody else's vantage point. Who's been able to?
If I may, my wife says, Dennis, you always have to be right. Well, no, I want to be right when right is right. But that's, again, you know, sitting down and having a conversation to figure out what is the right. So, you know, that's you know.
Yeah.
I can share too.
Okay, go ahead.
Just quick. I have two teenage girls now and who are always like, Mom, just listen, because I love to jump into solutions and give them advice. And they're like, we just want you to sit and listen and don't say anything.
I've learned to ask, do you want advice or do you just want to vent and for me to listen? Because I'm also a solution oriented. I'll start jumping in.
That's a good one. Yep.
And so I've learned to ask, do you just want me to listen or do you want some advice?
Oh, that's so good. That is so powerful, especially with teenagers, right? I mean, to be able to build that trust with them and stuff, like you're giving them that point, like, what is it that you want? I love that. That's so good, Kate. So anybody else have another example on how you're improving relationships with this habit?
I think I'd like to share also with my clients. There's a lot of coaches on here, you know, we have to meet our clients where they're at. And that's super important. I might not be there. I'm like, just eat your feelings. Just drink the water. How hard is it? But I have, like, for us, we have to understand them and meet them where they're at. And that's where I need to be patient and use a lot of that to put myself into their position.
Yes, so good. Jamie? Oh, you're muted.
Just one other thing. I don't know if anybody reads Brene Brown, but she does a ton of this, background. And one of the things that I found so powerful, I can't remember which book it was in, but basically, when you find yourself kind of turning off that, like, okay, somebody said something, that you're putting up that wall, breaking down those defenses and really coming at it as, that's interesting, tell me more, and actually, because then you're triggering your brain to, hey, listen, don't get defensive. And I think in the world we live in, we get so defensive, and then the conversation, I'm right, you're right, and it just doesn't go anywhere. To be more productive, that really resonated with me. Okay, that's interesting, tell me more, because it just kind of opens up that
Absolutely. It unpacks more, and then you get to really understand where they're coming from. That's so good. That's so good, Kate. Jamie, what were you going to say?
I love that, Kate. Daring Greatly is a book that I just finished recently by Brene Brown, and it has tons of tools and tips on similar strategies and self-awareness concepts. Something that is a huge part of what I offer in another service is focusing on identifying emotions. So when you're listening to somebody, and Priscilla, you just said, and it goes over a lot in element 5, like being aware of tone. So whether you're listening to your kids, or you're listening to your clients, or you're listening to your spouse, you're listening in a conversation, if you can identify the emotion in what they're saying. So like we speak all the time, we're expressing ourselves, but we're often not choosing emotional words, right? Like we can tell you all about the story of what's happened, but we can't like fully identify the words, right? Like the emotionality of what's being conveyed. So when you find yourself in that conversation where you yourself are triggered, a huge practice and habit that I've been working on practicing, notice I say practicing because I'm gonna raise my hand first. Boy, some fire comes out of my mouth sometimes to my kids. But being able to identify the emotion of what your triggered response is, right? Like when you're using that amazing phrase, like, that's interesting, as you're like sorting through, what the heck is it that I am triggered in this moment that has me so fired up, right? Like while you're processing and listening. And then as you're listening, like, where are they coming from? What emotion is this? Is this sadness? Is this frustration? Is this irritation? Is this tapping out because there's so many things in overwhelm going on? So literally, like, take an emotions wheel, and like, when I first started practicing this, I was like, what is that feeling? Is that distrust? Is that sadness? Is that irritation? Like, what is it, right? Like, we have 5 core emotions. Being able to discern what the feeling is helps you respond and create that awareness. And in practicing that, it's literally changed so many pieces of my relationships in being able to just sit and find that peace. So
that's awesome, Jamie. That's so good. And yeah, element 5 will cover a lot of that for sure. And I'm sorry, you guys, if you're okay with it, we're going to go a few minutes over because we did start around 9:09. I do apologize. We're going to fix the Zoom issue because I feel like we have weekly issues with it. So we're going to fix that for sure. But if we continue on to page 141, we talk about helping us create healthy surroundings, right? What does that look like? What type of friends do you have? When you decide to get healthy, you decide to say yes to your health. That means that if you are truly serious about changing your health, you're gonna have to really analyze your surroundings and the people that you hang out with the more. That famous saying that says you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Think about that. It is so true. And when I ask my candidates on a health assessment about that, I tell them, who are the people you hang out with? Like, think about the 5 closest people you hang out with the more. You're the average of all those people. If these people are the people that watch football and drink beer every weekend, or these people are the people that are in the drama triangle all the time, or they're Netflix bingers, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're the average of those people. And so when we decide to say yes to our health, that means that if you are truly serious, you're going to have to walk away from some of these relationships, sometimes indefinitely when they're not serving you in any capacity, and sometimes for a little while until you can solidify your habits of health and you're actually in a strong position. So it is important to look at your surroundings, to look at the people that are around you, right? I gave you guys the example of my grandmother, right? As much as I I love my grandma, she doesn't understand a lot of the reasons why we choose to eat the way we eat, right? And so some people don't want to offend these beautiful old ladies and be like, well, I didn't want to offend her, so I had to take a piece of the pie, even though I didn't want to. You know, I have clients that will be in full fat burn, and then they took a piece of the pie just to not offend the other person. But what if we respond in a loving way? What if we say something like, hey, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, because I know this is how you're showing me love. But here's the thing. And what if we're able to share element one with them? Your why, like why you're deciding to get healthy and why you can't have a piece of that pie. Now, if they embrace it and say, hey, you know what? I get that. I support that. That's someone you want by your side. But if it's going to be an old lady like my grandma's going to be like, that doesn't make sense. You should still have a piece of the pie. It's not like you have it every day, because that's what my grandma will say, you know, then it's kind of like those are the people you kind of want to keep a little bit in the peripheral as you're building the habits. Because if not, they're going to drown you in. They're going to bring you in. And so this is why you also need to be around people that are chasing the higher version of themselves. And so when Dr. A created this, he talked a little bit about focusing on a healthy community, right? We offer our clients an on-site community as they're creating local healthy surroundings. Why do we do this? Because we need the support. The Lone Ranger, there might be a one-off person that can do that, but we were meant for community. When God created us, we were created with the intention of building community. And if you talk about back in the days when, you know, I mean, like it was always community. You know what I'm saying? We were always built to be in herds and communities. And this is the way we actually win. So creating wins in your health is going to be vital as you start building also those healthy surroundings. So places, right? It's important that you're also setting yourself up to places. If you know that a certain bar is going to trigger you, even if you just want to go watch a game, why go to the bar? Go to somebody's house and have some mocktails, have some healthy snacks there. Create a new healthy surroundings. And I tell people this, like, you don't have to go to that bar, because without you thinking subconsciously, your mind, you know what I'm saying? Your mind goes back to like, even though you're like, no, I'm not going to drink anything, but you're in the surrounding where you had those drinks all the time. So even though you say no, if your habits are not installed strongly, you're going to take that drink without even noticing it. Or that friend that's an accomplice is going to be like, come on, dude, it's just one drink. We're watching the game. Our team's winning. Why not? You know, and then what do we say? Well, why not? You know, and then we grab that beer and we're like, okay, let's go. So this is why the places we go to is going to be valuable as well. And if we go to page 143, I love the 4 stages of learning the habits of health that Dr. A talks about, right? The first one is unconscious incompetence. If you guys see the first rock on the left, unconscious incompetent, this is where we all come in. We somehow know what we need to do to get healthy, but we're not exactly sure how to do it. We just know that we need to eat healthier. We need to have more salads. We need to drink water, but we don't know exactly what it entails. That's unconscious incompetence. His goal through the habits of transformational system and your community is to get you from there to conscious incompetence, where now I'm reading the books. You know, I'm reading Dr. A's Habits of Health book. I'm part of this community. I'm getting on the online Monday night calls or these Saturday element calls, right? I'm kind of learning all of these things. I'm still unconscious and competent because incompetent because I don't know how to do the things, but I'm becoming more aware, more conscious. Then we move into stage 3, which is conscious competent. At this point, you're conscious about what's happening because you've learned all of these things. So you intentionally start applying them because you're practicing them. The habit of practicing things is powerful. And then we move to second nature, where before you know it, you know, this is second nature. I mean, how many times, you know, people that didn't drink water today drink more water than anything else? You don't even think about it anymore because you've established that powerful habit of drinking water. And so this is essentially what Dr. A talks about. The 4 categories to getting you to unconscious competent is when you're literally creating a full turnaround in your lifestyle because you don't even think about it. That water you drink, you don't even think about it. You make a healthy choice. You didn't think about it. You get up in the morning, put on your sneakers, and you're ready to go run. You didn't even think about it. It's just who you are now. Second nature. And that's what's powerful, that anybody can do this, you know, but you have to create self-awareness first. So this is one of the reasons. So to my clients that are on this call, you may ask, why are so many of you coaching? You know why? Because so many of us need the accountability. So many of us need the support. When you're able to help somebody else out, it only solidifies your journey. And that's what we tell people, right? On a health assessment, we say, hey, who else can get healthy with you? Because if you have a loved one, if you have a spouse, a best friend, a partner, somebody that can partner with you to help you on your health journey, you're just basically placing an insurance on your own health journey because you're helping somebody else. And that is powerful, my friends. So this is something for my clients to consider, right? Our clients that are on this call, if you're struggling in your journey, if every weekend you're finding yourself in the same place where you're calling your coach on Monday and be like, dude, I messed up, or I don't know why these things are challenging, or I don't know why I'm so tempted, I'm out of structure, you need a coaching community. Simple as that. I want to encourage you to consider exploring the coaching opportunity with your coach that may be on this call or may not be on this call, and see what this can look like for you. Honestly, because it's not just about, oh, I'm going to help a few people. No, it's solidifying your personal journey. And I always tell this to my clients. One, you're creating health around yourself. You are the ripple effect that can create, you are the rock that can create a powerful ripple effect around you. You're that rock that can create that. And that's our goal, to help you create local healthy surroundings. And then you know what? If you say yes, you can help those around you. And boom, you've only created a protection, a wall of protection around you to just ground you on your health. But at the same time, you're helping other people. You're inspiring other people to be the best version of themselves. And this is awesome. So I want to encourage you guys, if you're a client and maybe your coach has talked to you about this, hey, consider exploring the opportunity. I always tell people, don't close a door until you've at least explored the opportunity. If you don't like the opportunity, close the door, shut them all down, put a bunch of locks if you want. I don't care. That's great. But at least you explored something that can potentially change your life. So I want to encourage you guys to at least explore that, okay? And then last but not least, we're just going to touch on page 147 on the electric leash. Who's bettering themselves when it comes to the electric leash? When we talk about phones, when we talk about notifications, when we talk about gadgets, who's getting better at this? Love it, Melinda. Who else? Linda, Jamie. I love it. Important to create protection around yourselves, right? I mean, when it comes to the electric leash, it is serious. And you can see the addiction in little kids, man. I see my boy and I'm like, oh, no. He can be on an iPad all day if I let him, right? And it's human nature, it's tendency to go ahead and do that. But yes, scheduling time is so important. Jamie, you're so right. Being intentional with your electric devices is so powerful. And I know that as coaches, it's hard for us sometimes because we are online all day. We're helping people. We have to go on social media, start connections with people, all of these things. But if you can create, Dr. A talks about the 20-20-20 rule, where for 20 minutes, look up from your device every 20 minutes, look 20 feet away for 20 seconds. I used to see my coworker do this a lot and I'm like, what is he doing? And now I get it. It's just kind of to reset your brain, to just kind of bring everything down, your wavelengths down, so that you can calm down and breathe in, breathe out, and then go back to your work and do whatever you have to do. So anyway, you guys, I hope today was helpful and it was useful. Again, I apologize about the technical difficulties. Next Saturday, we're probably going to be switching all the Zooms into the Zoom room. So just keep this in store. We're going to edit the cover photo on Ignite Health so that it's just easier and we don't keep wasting our time. But thank you everybody so much for participating. Next week, we're going to be going over element 6, you guys, okay? How to create a healthy weight, okay? And how to stay healthy in terms of your weight. Have a happy Saturday, you guys. Take care. Bye.